All right. Well, so it's over for now,
Yeah.
at least until Gen 5, or whatever other media they throw at us between now and then.
Yeah.
Maybe Equestria Girls or something.
Yeah, I think there might be a few more Equestria Girls hanging around, but uh, that's going the way to the dodo as well.
Yeah.
All right, so over the next few weeks, we're going to present our top 5 episodes. This is my week because I was finished with it. It's a very difficult problem. Um, one of the things that I did take into account before I begin, um, I did take into account like if it was really, 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 really close. Because 5 got really close with a few of them, and I was like, oh, you know, if I thought maybe it might go another, somebody might also put it in theirs, I might go, okay, well, I'll just do this one. And so that's how I cycled them a little bit if it was really close. Um, but I have my top 5, and I'll be going through that today. Um, so I do have some honorable mentions, but we'll talk about that if they come up in other people's things. If it doesn't, I can always talk about it in that point. Or in this episode, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, so number 5, A Royal Problem, Joanna Lewis and Christine Sanko. So, a lot of fun things in this one. Twilight is twilighting to an extreme. We get to see more of the sisters uh, than we usually do. Like this is sort of their episode. We did get from was it Dusk to Dawn or Dark to Dawn or whatever it was, the season 9 one, which that was also funny, and that was also sort of on the cusp of being in this spot. Though the royal swanifying storyline I didn't like as much as I liked just pretty much the straight interestingness of swapping their cutie marks and getting them sort of a more human pony sort of thing.
Giving them the Freaky Friday moment. Admit it. That was the real reason.
Well, yeah, but it was also the whole point of that is also to, it's like let them understand one another, um, and understand it wasn't all the same, and they're not, oh, your job's so easy, and that was probably part of the whole reason Nightmare Moon happened was, it was jealousy, but it was all, understanding as well. And it's kind of funny also because this sort of gives us an idea into their personalities also, because they're always been shown sort of prim and proper, though, you know, except for some moments here and there. We get a little mischievousness from Celestia, or
Celestia's a
a
little
little,
troll. Admit it.
what?
Celestia's a troll. Admit it.
Kinda. She does have that aspect to her, but at this point, she's been around so long that she's bored, and that's what she does with things. Uh, but the other thing was that we find out that Celestia is an extrovert. It's just an extrovert alert because the whole and Luna is an introvert, and we see how their jobs are actually really well suited to them because Luna is just like, you know, there's so many ponies, I have to smile all the time. It's a lot
Smile
of,
and wave, boys. Just smile and wave.
it's very draining for
That's so
her.
painful. Having to smile all the time.
Yeah. Well, and to an introvert, lots of lots of ponies, lots of talking to ponies, and having those
It's
long meetings.
exhausting.
It's gonna be draining to an introvert, so that wears out Luna pretty quick. While Celestia's driven kind of to talking to herself because she doesn't have anybody else to talk to, so she's just, uh, and the one of the best parts is Luna, like, you talked to yourself, didn't you? A little. It's like, yeah, they know each other. It's great. And of course, Daybreaker. That was fun, and that has
That
spawned
was a
some.
nice little fan service because that had existed in the fandom for a while before that. But then we finally get to see it on screen.
Yeah, it even had a card. It was like Nightmare Star in the pony card game. So they called that character Nightmare Star, but they called her Daybreaker for the show. I don't know. But yeah, and it's sort of it's a fun what if. And Starlight was Starlight was more the the just the catalyst to this episode, but it's really fun because it makes so much sense. Like, okay, who can swap cutie marks? Who can mess around with cutie marks? Starlight. Okay, that's her. That's pretty much her talent. And who would be bold enough to do that? Like Twilight wouldn't have done that. She would not have done that. She has way too much respect for the princesses to do that, and what they needed was somebody who had no filter. And
They needed
Starlight,
somebody to kick their asses into submission, basically.
yeah, Starlight has no filter, and that freaks the snot out of Twilight, and she goes full Twilighting in that cute little ballerina thing. There were so many fun little bits of this episode. And just weird things too, like Luna just freaking taking a bite out of a pineapple, or eating the banana peel. It's like, okay, she is very tired. Then again, these are also horses, so
She is a pony after my heart.
You eat the banana peel?
If you've ever bitten on one of those,
Yeah, no, I've had it so that sometimes it has that little those little strings still attached that are technically part of the peel itself. Those are nasty.
yeah,
I would not want to try tasting the entire peel.
yeah. If
Well,
you've ever,
Well, sometimes you have no idea what's going on, and you just take the whole entire banana and go, yum.
I did that once. I didn't bite, but it was a friend of mine was trying to teach us how to do lewd things. And funny enough, my straight cousin actually beat me at it because I have an intense gag reflex. But he and his friend beat me at it. And of course, my female cousin was second best besides my friend who took the entire banana. But I've never bitten down with the entire banana.
But yeah, it's filled with lots of little things, that are just it's fun little bits that, and the and making her pancakes at the end, just like just trying really hard not to gag or it's like, I know they were terrible. Then why did you give it to her? I guess to make the point, you have to be perfect for everyone else, but you don't have to do it for me. And I think they both came out of that with a much deeper appreciation for what the other one does, and much better appreciation for how their respective jobs are well suited to them. Like,
Yeah.
Luna, yes, being alone all night and facing dreams, fighting through dreams. Yeah, you're much better suited as your little introvert self, and Celestia as that extroverted, very good at smiling sort of thing. Oh, it's just so great when they humanize them. They make them not these just marble pillars. It's like,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I was saying, like the Between Dark and Dawn, that was the one it was. Yeah, Between Dark and Dawn, that one was the one that that was very close to being in this one. If the swanifying section hadn't been in there, I didn't enjoy that as much. I think that they would have been very, very close. Almost inseparable. Number 4, Slice of Life. M.A. Larson. Larson! But that was a really fun episode. It signified sort of like we get little things here and there, but that was just sort of, if they did it all the time, like as
it was very aptly named.
Yeah, it was, if they did this sort of thing all the time in the series where they just take an episode and just make it fan service, it would get irritating. It might get a little jarring.
Oh, yeah.
But this was episode 100, and this was them saying, "Hey fans, we're watching, we listen, we see what you're doing, and we can see the kind of things that you enjoy, and so we're going to take all that background stuff, all those little things, and we're just going to break fourth wall. We're just going to do all the fun things in one episode. We're going to stack them all in one episode. We'll get them occasionally in episodes other than this, but for one episode, we're just going to have fun. This is just a fun episode. Because, I mean, we get existential freaking Gummy.
What is life?
But in the search for a cutie mark. And what of the poor gator, flank forever blank, doomed to something or other, and so towards oblivion. It's like we're all one bugbear. Existential Gummy is just, it was so out of nowhere, and we just.
I actually got the voice actor for him to autograph a button that said "Gummy is best existentialist."
Something's going on with your end, Doc. You're and you're really quiet. Or I think it's you. It might, but anyway.
Not me, because I hear it too.
Okay, but anyway, so yeah, Slice of Life. Well, it's the second time they tried to really pander, and the first time didn't go so well with the Derpy episode, Derpygate. With Derpy having the voice she did, and that went crazy. But see, they brought her back. They gave her a different name, and they gave her a different accent. But at least they kept the core sort of goofy, sort of clumsy, sort of that sort of thing, as part of her character, and I loved that. I mean, we get Dr. Hooves, we get we get the Big Lebowski ponies, which, if I'm not mistaken, like they actually do the thing where like one of them is missing. It's a long story from the movie, but one of them is missing. Yeah, one of them is missing, which makes sense if you've seen the movie. But yeah, that was funny. Who messed it up? Derpy. Yeah, she brings out the muffins, but everything is sort of, You get Lyra and Bon Bon. I mean, being best friends. It's like,
Yes, best friends.
And she's secretly Agent
Sweetie Drops. Or,
Sweetie
yeah,
Sweet
especially
Drops.
just.
Yeah, Sweetie Drops.
Yeah, so they got to use the fan name and the official name. Yeah, all the benches, all the benches we sat on. It's like, okay, yeah, it's just, it's the show becoming self-aware for an episode. Just, and Stephen Magnet's a jerk.
Oh no, Stephen Magnet's awesome.
What he said to Matilda. She's like, oh, the wedding's not as important as the marriage. You know, it's like, and he's like, no, marriage. You know, I forget what these exact words were. The marriage is important. The wedding's important. And he goes off on a tangent about that, and it's like, you're kind of a jerk. She's already nervous as all get out about this, and that's really not true. You know, it's like, yes, the wedding is important, but it's not more important than the marriage, because the whole point of this is just a celebration of the marriage. So that's the core. But yeah, there's uncountable, you know, they threw a freaking panda, like the bugbear was a panda with wings and rings. It's panda ring. As they said in the Bronies React. Should watch that. It's fun. Very funny. But it just, there's so much in here that's just, it's fun. It makes no sense if you're not in the fandom, but it's fun. You can still have fun with the episode, but it's nowhere near as fun if you know all the jokes. And what, you know. And, oh, Scratchtavia, Vinyl Scratch and Octavia living in the same split house. And they have that whole jam session. It's like, alright. But it was so good. That was such a good episode.
It was.
Alright, number 3. Friendship is Magic. The opening 2-parter. Cheating a little bit, but like I said when we were grading this, if it's a 2-parter, that counts as one thing.
That was an agreement.
Yeah, that was an agreement. And this is because otherwise you're gonna clog it up, and that's not really the point of
Yeah.
But Friendship is Magic, the 2-parter. It is a microcosm of the series as a whole, because the whole first episode is mostly sort of a slice of life, interpersonal thing. There's this sort of thing hanging over it that, you know, the Nightmare Moon thing is hanging over it, but a lot of it's Twilight interacting with other ponies and, you know, making crazy ponies who want to make friends all the time. And then we get the second half is more the high fantasy adventure, and we get a song. Like, there's most everything that's in the show is in that first, you know, 2-parter. Music, adventure, you know, slice of life, talking, you know, friendships, you know, and you really see this sort of characters. They have the character, you know, they kept up with the characters, and it was really nice. But it's really kind of funny to go back, having watched, you know, for so long. It's been a long time since I went back and watched it, and I was like, you know what, I'll go back and watch that. And it's a lot more interesting going back after having watched the series, going back and rewatching the pilot and seeing how far they've come and how much they've changed. Like the main cast, they got a little development, but their personalities are fairly similar to where they started at.
Yeah.
Twilight, though, Twilight's a lot more like for a long time she's been a princess, so she's been trying to be very, upright and and trying to, live up to that sort of Celestia, sort of way of carrying herself. She does not do that as much in the first episode. Oh, you get prove it. Like, I can clear these clouds in 10 seconds flat. Oh yeah? Prove it. And just, all the ponies in this town are crazy. I mean, she's not as filtered, not as...
She's not wrong, though.
She's not wrong. No, none of it is wrong. Well, her disdain for friendship, but other than that... And she grows out of that over the episode. But her she doesn't have that sort of, I must be a princess and be very regal, and, I must not be so, like, she snarks. Like,
yeah.
she's like...
She has an attitude.
Yeah, oh, she's got a toot, and it's funny. It's really funny. It really works for her in that first episode, and she does carry that, I think, for some seasons, but then she starts, oh, I'm a princess now, I better be. She still does it occasionally, but she mostly, like, those first few seasons, she's really, she's got a lot of snark. Like, there's also an innocence to her, but she's also got this snarky edge to it, and it's really funny. But yeah, and we get the reunion. We get our first taste of the rainbow. We get Luna and Celestia reuniting, which, having all of the backstory to that and how significant that was, and also having seen Celestial Advice, where we saw how, Celestia was, her side of that same story, and what she was going through up until that point. It makes that whole reunion thing a lot better, a lot more meaningful. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a lot more meaningful for her. But yeah. But it's got all the tropes, it's got all the things. It's got Applejack at some point is going to grab Rainbow Dash by the tail because she's flying off the handle and going too hard on this. Trying to tack an alicorn. It's like, nope. But yeah, we get a nice introduction to all the characters. It's a nostalgia. If nothing else, huge nostalgia. I recommend, if anybody is, they finished the series and like, what should I watch? I kind of want to watch something. Go back and watch that pilot. It's gotten better with age.
Yeah.
The animation is still obviously the same. Everything's the same. It's just we know more about what's going on, and it makes this whole episode a lot more interesting. I'm sure you'll probably pick out plot holes or whatnot, but it's, kind of there.
Yeah. And it's also a good episode because the general rule is a person will get hooked on a show within the first 3.
Yeah. But
That's what happened with me. By the time I got to actually getting to the Discord episode, which is why I started watching it in the first place, I was already hooked.
Yeah. Okay. Number 2.
Ooh, cool.
Crusaders of the Lost Mark. Amy Keating Rogers. Okay, this one kind of had to be on there. This was one of those, you have them going on for so long, and they finally get their mark. But there's so much in this. It is just jam-packed. I mean, you start with an election, a whole election thing. and just the like how much Diamond Tiara just sort of is so arrogant about things, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to win, and I'm going to use my I know all your little secrets, and I'm going to expose you if you don't do this. And then to see her even mistreating Silver Spoon, it's like, and she gets it back in spades with the, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to speak. It's just like, oh, man. And like some reviewers said, them immediately going, just because she never cared about our feelings doesn't mean we shouldn't care about hers. It's like, fit them for freaking Halos. Like, you're gonna go help this bully who treated you like garbage, who has treated you like nothing but garbage for the last however many seasons, and you're concerned about her. It's like wow, yeah, fit you for freaking Halos on that thing. But yeah, and we get sort of, and it doesn't excuse everything, but it does sort of explain. And I'm glad, I've seen some other reviewers say, it's like, I'm glad they didn't make Spoiled Rich out to be the bad parent, the bad influence, because he's always seemed like he was, he might just be busy and he doesn't get to spend as much time as he'd like with her, which would probably be better for her personality. If she'd had more time spent with Spoiled Rich, because he seems like he's a nice guy from everything we see him in, other than that Equestria Girls thing, which didn't make a lot of sense, because everything else we see him in, he seems like he's just a straight up businessman, and there's nothing wrong with him. But yeah, her sort of being a high horse, it's like her Ed gives Silverquill, the reviewer, he pointed out something that's very, very apt, and I love that it works out. Okay, so you want to get into Canterlot circles. You want to advance in the sort of social ladder. Okay, so your choice is to have your daughter not, be mean, well, not to be mean to the, siblings and almost sibling in terms of relationship with the saviors of Equestria and personal friends of the Princess of Friendship, who is a student of Celestia, Celestia and Luna, who are the leaders of the country. Okay, so your idea here is, I'm going to go make them mad. I'm going to go and bully Applebloom, sister of Applejack, one of the elements of harmony. I'm going to have Sweetie Belle, sister of Rarity, also an element of harmony, and Scootaloo, almost sister to Rainbow Dash, also an element of harmony, all friends with Twilight, who is personal student of Celestia. It's like, how should we either be nice to these, or should we be mean to them? You want to climb the social ladder, but you also want to be a bully to the...
Well, I mean, at least they don't give any pony special treatment.
But if that's, oh, you have to keep up... She's very keep up appearances sort of.
Yeah, but nepotism is a very important characteristic to those bureaucratic types.
Yeah, and so
yeah, you want to, be play nice with the famous people in order to get yourself to that point.
Yeah, yeah. She's got the idea of, oh, I need to be, look good, which I don't understand why blank flanks are, is a thing. Like every single one of the upper crust was a blank flank at some point. So bullying them doesn't really work. It doesn't really work as a, like, that doesn't seem like a thing that would, like they would all go, hey, that's kind of a jerk move to do. But that she doesn't, she's just stupid, I think. It's like, you're going to antagonize the elements. Good job. But yeah, and then we get some great songs, uh, heard the diamond song, if I'm a diamond, then why do I feel so rough? That sort of thing. Those are all fun songs. We get the face. We get the face out of this episode. That's a weird question. But yeah, we see some insecurities, and once a bully that was once sort of flat and one dimensional, we get sort of more of what she is. And of course,
they made her, they made you empathize with her.
Yeah, that was the idea of this episode, was to get you to empathize with Diamond Tiara. They humanized her, for a lack of a better term. So she wasn't this flat, just antagonistic character. She has problems. She has insecurities. She has a mother that, is not very smart. And is kind of a jerk. And so that tends to rub off on, ponies and people. It's like, yeah, you can have all the examples around you, but if your parents are pumping that sort of idea into your head, it's gonna be much more effective than anybody else at getting you to believe that sort of thing. And so she really grows a lot in that episode. It's a very tight episode. Like,
Yeah.
they both reformed Diamond Tiara. Diamond freaking Tiara.
Yeah.
And got them their cutie marks in one fell swoop. And it was kind of interesting seeing them sort of, like, they've tried so hard to get their cutie marks. Like, the second they stop trying, it's just like, oh yeah, here it is. If they weren't so excited about, about having their cutie marks, they probably would think, hey, wait a second. It's like, we stop, and then suddenly, oh yeah, okay, yeah, here you go. It's like a Chinese finger trap.
And if she ever tried to become a bully again, or if anybody else did, they can just show them the statue of Cozy Glow.
Now, yeah.
This is what happens to bullies.
We turn them to stone. Occasionally we reform them, but mostly we turn them to stone.
Yeah, I turn them to stone or literally blow them up. The good times.
What would be funny is if they took the statue, okay, with all those three, and instead of putting it in the courtyard where something could happen, they could put it in the cage in Tartarus.
True.
It's like, that's double secured. Number one, they're in stone, and number two, they're in Tartarus. So unless Discord gets a wild hair and brings them out again, which I think he's learned his lesson, he's, they're gonna be there for a while.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and on top of that, Ed, Ma and Pa would have been proud. It's like, oh, Don't do that. Don't ignite the feels. But yeah,
I think the feels were already ignited
yeah.
in that episode. You can't you can't ignite them more. They were already there.
Yeah. It was, but yeah, there was a lot of feels in that episode. That was sort of one of those little spikes of here's something to tug on your heartstrings. Here's an extra little on your heartstrings if you weren't already feeling something. It's like here's a little and and then Pinky giving them the biggest quinceanera ever. Which is interesting in that quinceañeras are now, I don't know if they were confirmed or not, but like when we got the first episode, like as a thing that happens right after you get your mark. And so that mean if it was it Diamond Tiara's quinceañera that they went to?
Yeah, I think it was either Diamond Tiara or Silver Spoon.
I think it was Diamond Tiara.
I think it was Diamond.
So Diamond Tiara had just got her cutie mark and was having her quinceañera, and then now towards the end of the series, well, not end of the series, it's actually a lot longer than you think it was, if you go back and look at it, but
yeah, that was season 7, right?
It might have been earlier than that. I want to say 5, but I can't. I can go ahead and look real quick. But yeah, so now she was being a jerk to them about them not having their cutie mark when she just literally got it, which is kind of an interesting thing. Start here. Yeah, Crusaders of the Lost Mark was episode 109, episode 18 of season 5.
Damn.
So it was pretty close to the middle of the series.
Yeah.
It's a lot longer ago than you think it is. That surprised me a little bit.
Yeah.
A Slice of Life was like right in there too, because it's episode 100. So there's a couple really good episodes in season 5. But yeah, and them getting their mark and whatnot, it's really good. See if there's anything else I can think of on the Crusaders of the Lost Mark. It was a good episode, brought an end to an era, and opened up a new one. It gave us it got us away from them chasing their cutie mark and more chasing other ponies' cutie mark. which also brought us Gabby. Later on, brought us Gabby. She was like, "Oh, cutie mark Crusaders," just like, and they gave her an honorary mark of her own. Man, that Griffin was pure sugar. That was sugar incarnate.
She was.
She was cute though.
Oh, I'm not complaining at all. She was great, but yeah, she was one of those characters. It's darn near impossible to hate.
Yeah.
And with that, we get to my number 1
Yeah.
of all of the episodes, 221.
A Perfect Pair.
I was going to announce that. That was kind of a jerk move. The Perfect Pair, Joanna Lewis and Christine Sanko. The same ones that brought us A Royal Problem. This is an amazing episode. I don't think there's a second of screen time that is wasted. Every moment on screen is used for something. It's going towards the plot. It's filling you in on history. Every bit of it's wonderful. The only really thing that having seen a lot of reviews and thinking about it, it's like if they had used, instead of, it's one really tiny nitpick, but when Pear Butter and Bright Mac are meeting for the first time. You know, I'm not supposed to talk to you, and that sort of thing. They're using the Kate twins models. I think they should have gone to something like a Cutie Mark Crusader, or heck, I think it would have been fine if they'd used sort of Applejack's model, like teenage Applejack, teenage Big Mac, that sort of model. Was that after? I don't remember if that was before or after. But yeah, an older model, because it does not work with those. He says, other than that, everything was great. We got William Shatner in there, and what was her name? The one who played Pear Butter. But yeah, every we got a great song.
Felicia Day.
Felicia Day, yes. We got a great song. We got like the best parent episode. Like Rarity's parents didn't get an episode. Twilight's parents didn't really get an episode. But you know, Pinky's got an episode. It was okay. Fluttershy's got part of an episode that was mostly on Zephyr. You know, we got to know them. It was okay. Parental Guidance with Rainbow Dash was good, but this was amazing. And it's probably one of the best romances in the entire show. Just hooves down, because
and considering we have like Cadence and Shining Armor to deal with.
Yeah, well, okay, Cadence and Shining Armor. We don't really get actually. They don't have. They're very generic.
Yeah.
They don't have, you know.
We have we have Mud Pie, Mudbriar.
Yeah, Mudbriar is good, but this is better. Like,
yeah,
all of them are really good. Like they're good, but well, okay. Cadence is about as, you know, they're about as bland as white bread. Just like there is nothing to her. She has no character outside of just being, well, I am a perfect pony princess. She just doesn't have anything. Shining got a little bit of character development when he got to be a dad. It's like it's amazing and confusing, but still amazing. You know, this sort of, you know, that sort of goofy dad sort of thing. He got a little bit of that, but like they're very boring characters. Cranky and Matilda, not boring characters, but yeah, their stories is very, you know, it's very cute, but it doesn't show them.
They don't delve too much into it, and they don't show much. They just like show the surface of it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't give you nearly as much detail as Perfect Pair does with the apples.
Yeah. And yeah, there's lots of couples, but you know, and yes, it does have sort of the Romeo and Juliet setup in that they are star-crossed lovers, but this one is like if you were trying to write that with, you know, the couple being intelligent, because Romeo and Juliet is all about just it's mostly a poking fun at young love and people being stupid when they're young and doing crazy things. They're star-crossed. They're, you know, their families hate each other, as Miss Kate tells us, or Chiffon Swirl at the time, which that was an interesting. Okay, but you don't see them, like, it isn't a 3-day whirlwind romance. We get whole montages of them, you know, walking I'm guessing between the fields, but you know, walking together, and you know, it's obvious that this relationship has been built over many years, and there's a lot of depth of feeling in there. I mean, we get little hints that it's not just, you know, surface level stuff. This is like the whole thing with the weeds during the song. She's out there pulling weeds in the orchard, and Bright Mac is walking with Granny and pulling a cart, and he sort of, is waving at her, and Granny's like, keep going. And then she finds him having pulled the weeds for her, but having worked himself out and fallen asleep. And she just like gently, brushes the hair out of his eyes. It's like, that's a really touching moment, because you see, the care is there. It's not just a superficial thing. That's one of my favorite things in that episode, because it's not announced. It's not, it's not words. It's actions, and that can speak volumes. That was the first thing he thought of. I'm gonna go help her with those weeds. And then her finding him passed out, is he put all that effort in. It's just, and they're so cute. Yeah, like he brought her flowers, but sneezes and gets it all over her, gets the flowers all over her, and she just and blows the last one off her face, and they both have a laugh. It's just like, it's just so much cuteness and just really sweet. And the whole framing device is a series of stories told by other people, other ponies. Like, going to talking to Goldie Delicious, and then Burnt Oak, and then Mrs. Cake, and then Mare. And the continuity at the end was really fun, because Mare's hair is pink. Her mane is pink. And, it's like, yep, that's some continuity right there. And you still have the Mare and the Moon in this thing. And then you could have done all this and it would have been great. But on top of that, you have Grandpere. And Grandpere, is so touching in, he's realized the mistake he's made, how grave an error it was, and has come back to try and make amends. He doesn't know whether he'll be accepted. He doesn't know what'll happen, but he's coming back to try and make what he can right. He can't bring back all those years that he was away, but he can take the years that he has left with them and make the best of those. And that was really sweet. And then, just if your feels weren't already pegged, at the end you see the apple and pear tree grown together in that little heart shape, and it's like, oh, come on. I'm already pegged here, and you're just gonna add a little more, huh?
It's so nice.
If you weren't a little misty-eyed at the end of that episode, I'm not saying full-on crying, just at least a little misty-eyed, somebody was cutting onions in the other room, sort of situation.
No, I'm a man.
You need to check to make sure you got a pulse.
I actually wasn't affected by that episode. But also, that onions comment, my eyes don't get watery, but they do burn when I have I have onions.
No soul.
No, I don't. Although I did get feels from other episodes. I just am not as invested in the apples as he is.
Well,
I really don't care much about them.
Well, on you. But yeah, the perfect pair is amazing. And that's why it's my #1 favorite episode of My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, Generation 4. Should I go ahead and say my honorable mentions, or should I hold on to them for they come up in other people's lists?
Yeah, why not? I mean, we're already going to have like duplicates of
Oh yeah,
duplicate episodes. So
Okay,
stuff is
so
fine.
that's my top 5. So honorable mentions: Saddle Row Review by Nick Confalone. If nothing else, the little uh, cut scenes between things with the diner. It's like this chair, not close. Very funny. Um, Between Dark and Dawn, I already talked about that. Sounds of Silence. It's just mostly for was it Autumn Blaze, just because she's a boatload of fun.
she is.
Yeah, but it was like, okay, well, how much of that episode, my liking that episode, is just her character? It's not the story as well. Okay, that's why it got relegated to honorable mentions. It's basically the same thing with the main attraction. It's like, I love that finale song to the main attraction, and so um, the one with Lena Hall Pony, um, Rah Rah. Uh, but yeah, it was mostly around like the songs. Like when she's singing, that's really good stuff. It's really good stuff, and the episode is okay. It's an okay episode with really good songs. Um, and then finally, my last honorable mention: Magical Mystery Cure. Mostly because it's also got a lot of fun songs in it, um, but it does have the problems people have said. And it's really rushed, and it was just like, okay, this would have been great as a two-parter, or done some other way. Like this was just so fast. It was good music, just really fast. Um, but yeah, those are my honorable mentions. Those are Dex's picks, my top 5. Um, Feel free to disagree if you like in the comments, and rail at me for picking terrible episodes and I already know that it's like, but I think I've picked some good episodes, and I've picked some episodes that may not have gotten picked in other people's lists. So, but yeah, that's about all I had to say about that.